So you're wondering how you can be fine with your choices. How you can be fine with the things you have in your life. If it is the place you live or the job you have or whatever it should be. You should start to understand till now that you really don't have a choice. But you need a certain consciousness behind it before you can fully experience to be fine with it. And you will find that consciousness if you really want it, if you need it, if you truly want freedom and to be happy and to feel great, then you will recognize that you don't feel so good about certain things that you might have or certain choices you might be doing. And you will find yourself questioning how to be fine with these things. But the consciousness behind it is really simple. First and foremost, you're starting to realize that you can always change it. You can always change the place you live or your job. You can increase your frequency, your consciousness, your well-being and joy for life. And when you know that, that in itself could be the consciousness you need to be fine with the things you have. And when you understand that unless you are fine with it, you're holding that thing with a closed hand. You're focusing on it, and that is what you're energizing. You're energizing that thing as something you don't like, and you completely forget to think about and daydream about what you want instead. For you to be able to let go of that thing, let's call it a cloud or a shadow, you will need to move through it. And unless you like it or accept it as it is, you would not want to move through it. You would want to look away, to focus on something else, and to keep judging that shadow or that cloud in the way you have been till now. If you can be someone who can be fine with living where you live now, or someone who can be fine with the frequency you have now, or the job you have, then you will hold it with an open hand, and you will have the possibility of letting go of that thing and replace it with something else. Put something else in your hand. But if you're judging it, you're holding it with a closed hand. You can't let go of it because your hand is closed. You need to be fine with it. You need to know that you can exchange it with something else. And unless you can enjoy that thing now, be fine with it, embrace it, well, then first and foremost you will practice not staying in joy. You will practice not being fine with what you have and what you are experiencing, and that's what you will be good at. So you need to be careful. You need to recognize how you are thinking about this thing that you maybe don't want to have in your life anymore. If it's your job or your lower frequencies. And you need to embrace them. Be fine with them. So you can move through them. So you can move on. So you can get something else instead of these things. So let's say that you are driving the car and you realize that you aren't as good of a driver as you maybe might have thought earlier. And now you want to be a good driver. You have now noticed and had a realization of the driving you have been doing till now. and you have gotten clarity about what you want instead. That could be a very joyful experience if you can be fine with the driving you have been doing till now. But unless you can be fine with the fact that you haven't been such a good driver till now, then you will keep focusing on the bad driving. You will hold that with a closed hand, and that is the only thing you will be focusing on. If you can be fine with that instead, you can now start focusing on how you want to drive instead. And you will do it because you want to, because you have a vision of how it can be. You might have realized some of the benefits of being a good driver. You might have gotten a frequency comprehension of what it means to do bad choices in traffic, for example. You're doing so many choices in the car, and unless they are all high frequency choices, well, then you're obviously doing low frequency choices, and those things will hinder you from being higher frequency. Unless you can be fine with that, be fine with the choices you have been making, it will be difficult to embrace and practice this new higher frequency, this better thing that you now have found. Be happy about doing the best you can. Be happy that you are able to be fine with these things that you have now noticed, maybe, that you haven't been doing so great. Try to turn it around. Be happy that you now actually became aware of something. You notice that, wow, I've been doing this in this way forever, because that's how I learned to do it, and I was totally unaware. I didn't have any conscious thoughts about it. I didn't realize that I actually had a choice. I didn't have to do it like this. Be happy that you now became aware of it. Be happy that you can choose yourself in what other way you want to do it instead. And the same goes for everything. Be happy that you realized that, wow, I don't really want to live here. What an exciting thing. I can move. Of course I can move. You can be happy that you realized that. Or be happy that you noticed that you might not want to work where you work anymore. You want to change job. What a brave thing to admit to yourself. Be happy for that. Try to think differently about these things that make you feel bad, or these things that you are negative about. There are very many ways to think about everything. And unless it makes you happy, makes you feel free and empowered, well, it's not really a very good way to think about it. So you need to be fluid. You can focus on being happy that you now realized that life can be greater, and that you now have raised your awareness and your consciousness around what is needed in your life for life to be great, like you now have imagined it could be. There are very many things to be happy about with the change you might want to make. But there are also very many reasons to be negative about it. It's just that it's very bad reasons. They aren't doing you any good, and you just have to let go of it at some point. So focus on what you want more of in life, and be fine with the things that you don't want. Embrace everything. Respect everything. Don't judge, because what you judge, you are simply holding with a closed hand, and it's difficult to let go of it. It's difficult to feel good and fine about those things. And isn't that what you want? You want to feel good. You want to feel fine.